Truth has a way of arriving when we least expect it. Sometimes it creeps in softly, like a whisper that you only catch in hindsight. Other times, it strikes like lightning, sharp, undeniable, and impossible to ignore. The day we're talking about today is not one of those subtle moments. This is a day when truth will hit hard. A cosmic alignment of Mercury Cazimi and a dramatic shift of Mars sets the stage for realizations, confrontations, breakthroughs, and beginnings that mark a turning point in your story. This isn't just any ordinary astrological weather. This is the kind of day people look back on and say, "That was the day everything changed." So let's begin with the heart of it. Mercury Cazimi and Virgo, the spark that lights up our minds with divine clarity. When Mercury goes Cazimi, astrologers often describe it as in the heart of the sun. Imagine Mercury, the planet of communication, thought, perception, and information, sitting so close to the sun that it's not burned up, but instead infused with solar brilliance. It's as if the mind becomes one with the source of light. For a brief period, confusion melts away, and clarity pours in like pure sunlight flooding a dark room. Now, place that Cazimi in Virgo, Mercury's own sign, the place where the planet feels completely at home. Virgo is practical, discerning, analytical, and deeply focused on truth through details. This isn't the kind of vague insight that leaves you guessing. No, Virgo Cazimi cuts right to the core. It's a moment of laser precision, divine mental clarity, where the fog of distraction, denial, or confusion is suddenly burned away. Think about those moments in life where you've been wrestling with a decision, lost in analysis, or maybe even ignoring something deep down because you weren't ready to face it. Then suddenly, in a single moment, the answer just crystallizes. That's Mercury Cazimi in Virgo. It's truth with the volume turned all the way up. It's a light bulb so bright that you can't possibly pretend not to see it. And here's the beautiful and terrifying part. Once you see, you cannot unsee. Mercury Cazimi in Virgo gifts us insight, but it also demands accountability. It asks us to admit what we now know, to take the clarity and do something with it. But Mercury doesn't stop at clarity alone. The Cazimi state is a spotlight moment where the truth not only becomes clear in your mind, but it seeks expression. Words flow, messages land, conversations happen that shift the course of relationships and decisions. Virgo's influence makes those words precise, sharp, and often impossible to argue with. It's like truth itself is speaking through you, cutting through noise with surgical precision. Imagine waking up that morning, going about your day as usual, and suddenly being struck with an undeniable thought. This relationship isn't working, or this job is draining my soul, or even something as profound as, I've been lying to myself about what I really want. That's Cazimi at work, not a vague hunch, but a fully formed realization that lands like a bell ringing in your chest. And because it's in Virgo, it doesn't just stop with a feeling. You might immediately start mapping out the plan, drafting the text you need to send, or writing down the new system you're going to implement. Virgo doesn't play with abstract ideas. Virgo wants to act, refine, and put clarity into practice. Which brings us to the second layer of this powerful day: sudden realizations hitting hard. If Mercury Cazimi is the light bulb, then this part is the jolt that comes with it. The moment when what you've realized shakes the very ground you've been standing on. We often think of realizations as gentle or enlightening, but the truth is, most of us avoid them until they absolutely demand to be seen. And on this day, with Mercury Cazimi amplifying clarity and Mars preparing to shift, realizations won't knock politely. They slam into your awareness like a tidal wave. Have you ever had a moment where you finally admitted something to yourself that you've been avoiding for months or even years? Maybe you finally realized someone's words will never match their actions, no matter how much you wanted to believe otherwise. Or maybe you suddenly saw how your own habits have been sabotaging your growth. That rush of awareness, that, oh my God, it's been right here all along moment, that's the kind of realization we're talking about. And here's the kicker. Because Mars is on the move, these realizations don't just sit quietly in your mind. They ignite action. You don't just see, you respond, you speak, you decide, you confront, you pivot. And those responses are powerful enough to alter the course of relationships, careers, and spiritual paths. If you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe for daily cosmic insights, astrology updates, and spiritual guidance, because the universe always has a message for you. Relationships that are strong, that are built on genuine balance, can grow from this. Mars in Libra can clear the air, set the record straight, and bring two people into a more honest and fair connection. But relationships that have been lopsided, toxic, or built on illusions may not survive this kind of cosmic spotlight. The truth will hit hard, and Mars won't let you just pretend it didn't happen. This is where choice comes in. You can use this energy to fight destructively, to tear down and burn bridges. Or you can use it to confront in a way that seeks real resolution, fairness, and growth. That's the gift of Libra. It asks you to fight for harmony, not just fight for the sake of fighting. Imagine someone realizing during Mercury Cazimi that they've been carrying the entire emotional weight of their relationship. They can't ignore it anymore. Mars in Libra pushes them to say something. I feel like I'm the only one putting in effort. That has to change. That conversation could either spark healing and balance, or it could expose the cracks that have been there all along. Or picture a friendship where one person has been quietly jealous or resentful. On this day, it might burst out in a sudden confrontation, a truth that's uncomfortable but necessary. Mars in Libra brings the courage to finally express what's been simmering, while Mercury Cazimi ensures the words come out with piercing clarity. It can be messy, it can be painful, but it can also be the doorway to something much more authentic. And now, as if clarity and confrontation weren't enough, another layer unfolds. Mercury Cazimi in Virgo doesn't just sharpen your rational mind, it also opens a doorway for spiritual insights. Combine that with the intensity of Mars' shifting signs, and the floodgates swing wide open. When the mind is clear, when illusions dissolve, spiritual truths often rush in to fill the space. On this day, you may find yourself flooded with realizations not just about your external life, but about your soul, your path, your deeper connection to the universe. It's as though the cosmos is saying, now that you can finally see clearly, here is what's been waiting for you. The insights may come in meditation, in dreams, in sudden flashes while you're walking or driving. They may come as synchronicities, numbers, symbols, conversations that seem too perfectly timed to be coincidence. For some, this floodgate may feel overwhelming. Spiritual truths often shatter the smaller stories we've been telling ourselves. They remind us that life is bigger, that we are connected to forces far beyond our personal dramas, and that can be both awe-inspiring and disorienting. But for those ready to receive, this is a day of profound downloads. Journaling, meditation, prayer, and stillness can all help anchor the insights that pour in. They may not all make sense immediately, but they will feel undeniable. Like Mercury Cazimi, burning through mental fog, spiritual insight burns through soul fog, the illusions of separation, doubt, or limitation. Someone might sit down to journal and suddenly write pages of wisdom they didn't even know they had inside them. Another person might have a dream so vivid that it feels like a direct message from their higher self or their ancestors. Someone else might step outside, look at the sky, and feel an overwhelming sense of connection. A sudden certainty that they are not alone, that they are guided, that they are part of something far greater. And because Mars is shifting into Libra, these spiritual insights are not just abstract. They often tie back to relationships, to balance, to fairness. You may suddenly see how karmic patterns in your connections have been playing out. You may realize why a particular person entered your life, or why a cycle has repeated. The floodgate doesn't just open to cosmic truth in general, it opens to the truth of your specific story. This is where the day becomes unforgettable. Not just because of arguments or clarity, but because of the deep sense that something bigger is at work. That the universe is showing you exactly what you need to see, exactly when you need to see it. And once you have that kind of insight, it changes you. It starts a new chapter in how you view yourself, your relationships, and your place in the cosmic dance. So far, we've seen how Mercury Cazimi sharpens the mind, how sudden realizations break through denial, how Mars in Libra shifts the dynamics of action and confrontation in relationships, and how the spiritual floodgates open wide. But we're not done, because this day doesn't just bring insights, it breaks apart old stories, it demands expression through writing and speaking, it stirs physical and emotional reactions, and ultimately, it marks the beginning of a brand new mental chapter. And because Mars is in Libra, these reactions may often play out in relationship contexts. You may feel your heart race before confronting someone. You may feel a knot in your stomach before admitting what you've been avoiding. These reactions don't mean you're weak. They mean you care. They mean you're alive. They mean the truth matters. As intense as these reactions can be, they're not the end of the story. In fact, they are the precursors to something even more important, the beginning of a new mental chapter. Because once the clarity is received, the realizations are processed, the stories are broken, the words are spoken, and the emotions are felt, something shifts permanently inside you. You are not the same person you were before, and that's where we'll go next. And so, as we move toward the closing moments of this extraordinary day, the energy begins to settle, but not in a way that makes it smaller. It settles in the sense that what was once overwhelming has now become integrated. The truths that hit so hard, the realizations that shook your core, the conversations that might have erupted with Mars in Libra, all of it starts to take its rightful place in the larger story of your life. This is where you stand at the threshold of a new mental chapter. And if you're honest with yourself, you can already feel it. There's a shift in the way you think, the way you process, the way you respond. It's subtle enough that it might escape the notice of those around you, but you know it's there. Something inside has been rewired, something that cannot go back to the way it was before. Perhaps for you, this shows up as a newfound ability to speak without fear. Or maybe it manifests as a sharp inner compass that tells you when something is out of alignment. For others, it could be a sudden passion for writing, journaling, teaching, or speaking, because once Mercury has been bathed in the heart of the sun, words are never quite the same. They carry light, resonance, and an almost sacred weight. But here's the most important part. The story doesn't end here. A cosmic moment like Mercury Cazimi paired with Mars' shifting signs is not just a one-day event. It's the ignition of a cycle. What happens now becomes the seed for weeks, even months ahead. You are not just experiencing a day you'll never forget. You are standing at the starting line of a path that will unfold in surprising, sometimes challenging, but ultimately liberating ways. This is why it's crucial to pause and acknowledge what has happened. Take time at the end of this day to reflect. Write down what realizations came through. Record the emotions you felt. Even if they were messy, even if they were hard, capture them. Because these are the markers of transformation. These are the pages of the chapter you are beginning. And remember, truth, no matter how hard it hits, is never the enemy. It is the doorway to freedom. It might sting, it might rattle you, but it also liberates you from illusions that were never meant to last. When Mars in Libra challenges your relationships, it's not to destroy them, but to strip away the pretense and build something real. When Mercury Cazimi delivers clarity, it may feel like an unrelenting spotlight, but it's also the light that guides you out of confusion. So, what do you do now? You walk forward, one step at a time, carrying the lessons of this day with you. You learn to trust the insights that came, even if you don't yet see the full picture. You learn to balance passion with diplomacy, honesty with compassion, and spirituality with grounded action. You allow yourself to write, to speak, to share, because your words now carry the imprint of truth. And you allow your body and emotions to rest, to recalibrate, knowing they have carried you through something immense. As we close, let me leave you with this. You are not the same person you were when this day began. The universe has spoken to you in the language of clarity, courage, and transformation. And though it may have felt overwhelming, though it may have pushed you to confront things you'd rather avoid, it has also given you a gift, the chance to start anew, wiser, lighter, more aligned with your truth. So breathe it in. Remember how it felt. Honor the fact that you made it through, that you stood in the center of cosmic fire and emerged with new light. This is a day you'll never forget, not because it was easy, but because it was real. And real, my friends, is where the magic always begins. Now take that magic with you. Let it guide you. Let it shape the way you live, love, and create. Because your new chapter has already begun, and the story ahead is yours to write.